The topic for me is law on domestic violence and abuse. Know your right. But then I want to start first with the definition of what domestic violence and abuse means. And the government they published their definition of what it means back in March of 2013. And this is what they say. The government defined domestic violence and abuse as any incidents or pattern of incidents of controlling, coercive, or threatening behavior, violence, or abuse between those aged 16 or over who have been intimate partners or family members, regardless of gender or sexuality. This can encompass, but not limited to, the following type of abuse: psychological, physical, sexual, financial, and emotional. Apart from speaking about all of this tonight, I will also be sharing my practical experience on a day-to-day basis of what I encounter in the courtroom. As you've seen from my profile, yes, my passion is advocacy, and that by His grace, I've been doing that for almost 21 years now. And one of the key things that I've mentioned in my profile is also my passion towards domestic violence. I hate it, and I do not hesitate to show that in court when I'm dealing with my my defendants. So, and also because of my hatred for it, that has led even to a ministry for me, whereby I have an outreach towards mothers. And that's one of the reasons why I feel passionate about what Tama is doing, because you are addressing a very serious issue, more like a pandemic in our community. And so there is no specific offense of domestic violence or domestic abuse. However, the term can be applied to a number of offenses committed in a domestic environment. What that really is saying is that all offenses that is committed within a domestic environment will become domestic abuse, domestic violence or abuse. It will become a domestic abuse. So, and also as we go on, but however, even though there might not be specific offenses, but however, back on Tuesday, the 29th of December in 2015, the government actually bring into law a specific offense relating to domestic violence, which is called controlling or coercive behavior in an intimate relationship. It came into force on that day. And let's examine this particular offense and the definition of it. The definition is given under the Section 76 of Serious Crime Act 2015. And it defines controlling behavior is a range of acts designed to make a person subordinate and or dependent by isolating them from sources of support, exploiting their resources and capacity for personal gain, depriving them of the means needed for independence, resistance, and escape, and regulating their everyday behavior. I'm sure we have seen people that this will really express their experience. As you know, with a lot of domestic violence that we can see this happening in their life, where their life is subjected to control. Some people that have dealt with cases where the woman is not even allowed to associate with her family, that he monitors what she does. Her phone, she's checking on her phone, even she doesn't have a bank account, the money goes into his account. He controls everything. So I can see this. I've seen it many times, and I know it is not a feeble. It's something that is an experience of some people, and still an experience of people currently. And the next part of it is coercive behavior. Is an act or a pattern of acts of assault, threats, humiliation and intimidation, or other abuse that is used to harm, punish, or frighten their victim. So this is part of the offenses. And as we already seen in the definition that we give, or in the introduction as said by Lami, is the fact that domestic abuse does not know color, it does not know race, it is all embracing, it's experienced by all form of races, or every race. It includes honor-based killing that we know is more related to people in the Asian community, is more prominent there. Female genital mutilation, we know that one. We know about forced marriages. So we could see that it cuts across culture. It's not cultural. It's not a black thing. It's not an Asian thing. It's a human being thing. So, and that is why at the ministry, like Tama, is very important to be able to address this in the community, to say, no, it cannot continue. So we also heard that victims are not confined to one gender or ethnic group. And then they give definition as to what family is. On that, the act is said that family members can be described or defined as mother, father, son, daughter, brother, sister, and grandparents, whether directly related in-laws or step-family. This is not exhaustive. It may extend even to uncles and aunties and cousins and all of that. So the law is frowning on abuse that goes on. And we can see from the broad definition of what domestic abuse is that dynamics and form of how abuse take place will be broad. There are a lot of ways that is being perpetuated, and that is part of what the law is to be able to stand against. So these offenses are regarded as particularly serious within the criminal justice system. And when I'm saying the criminal justice system, I'm talking of courts, I'm talking of the police, I'm talking of social services, I'm talking of family law, family court, or the civil one. I'm talking of every parastatals that work within the criminal justice system. It's frowned upon, it's viewed seriously. And one of the key things we say is that, and one other thing I want to put forward is why? It's because of the abuse of trust that is involved in it. Because you know a home is supposed to be an haven, but it is a place of torture for some people, and the percentage is growing every minute. And so the major organization that deals with prosecution of offenses of domestic violence and abuse is the Crown Prosecution Service. And by the grace of God, I've worked with them now for nearly 21 years. I work with them in-house as an in-house employee for 16 years, and I've been a consultant for them for the past, it will be 7 years this year that I've been a consultant for them. So I have worked in and out of CPS for 21 years. So I do know that they are hot on domestic violence. They are very hot on it and passionate. And so what the CPS does is to work closely with the police. They work closely with police in gathering from the outset, ensuring that effective gathering and collision of evidence in order to build the strongest case. So they want to build the strongest case in relation to it. So they work hand in hand with the police. They work also with the social services, getting more information, especially where children are involved. Where children are involved. And one thing I can focus on, mention tonight, is that their primary focus, apart from prosecuting the people, the perpetrator, their primary focus is on the welfare of the victim and children that are affected by domestic violence. That's the primary focus. So everything they do is governed by that policy, is governed by that particular vision to care for the people and that are really affected through domestic violence. So in starting tonight in knowing your right, one of the things I want to start off with is that there can be no case unless there's a report. In other words, there can be no case unless somebody tells the people that needs to be told. And I'm talking of victims' participation is highly crucial. Victim participation in prosecution of offenses of this nature is highly important, because unless you still talk, there's nothing that anyone can do. Nobody knows of it. And that's why I like the slogan of Tama. I like the Tama's slogan is silence is not golden. Silence is not golden, because many people do not want to come forward. Many people, especially people of our race, I've seen that many times in courtroom. They will come to court, they will force them to come to court, and then asking them to give evidence. They do not want to give evidence. Oh, I've had even, it's not just our color, but every other color, because people that prosecute is everyone, Asian, white, black, every color. And a lot of time I hear this from the women. They will say, oh, I love him. Oh, I want to get back into the relationship. I care for him. I don't want to give evidence for them. Believe me sincerely, I'm not mild with my words to them. I am very firm. Many a times I will say to them, you are going to come back. You will come back because you will do it again. Because the key thing is that bullies don't take no lightly. They don't hear unless you stand up to them. So I will give them, oh, you don't want to see me. Many a times all the lecture I give, and some of them I will go and bring the photographs of their injuries that have been taken. I will show it to them. I will say to them, is this okay for him to do this to you? And all of that. I've succeeded sometimes, and sometimes I've not succeeded. Now, I can give you an example of where I had not succeeded. The lady came to court in February of 2020, and our boyfriend, she's a white lady, and my defendant is a black man, and she didn't want to give evidence. I talked to her as family as I can, and she keeps saying, no, you don't understand, I'm not giving evidence. I said, okay, madam, if you don't stand up to him, he's going to do it again, and you will be back. As if by prophecy, she came back 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, and she's one of many examples I've seen. She's not the first, but she actually pointed it out to me. And then the moment I enter into the witness room to speak to her, the first thing she said is, oh, I know you. I'm wondering, where did I know you? And I said to her, and she said, yes, I came here in February. You told me I'll be back. I said, I'm sorry. I didn't want to prophesy to you, but I have seen it too many times before. And then we went on. Unfortunately, this time she gave evidence and he was convicted. So I have seen that. But so even if you want to know your rights, people that might be online tonight, you want to know your rights. Your right is no one is permitted to assault you, abuse you. Do not endure it. Don't tolerate it. You cannot correct what you tolerate. As long as you keep tolerating it, it will keep happening. But many people, many a time we see that. And so the law itself, in knowing that domestic violence, because by its nature, people don't want to come forward to give evidence. They don't want to come forward to stop it, because unless they are prosecuted, many a time it might not stop. So the government have put a lot in place to try to help in bringing those that perpetuate this offense into justice. They have tried in many ways, in setting out laws, in changing laws, in creating acts and of parliament to be able to address it. And some of it I will touch on it tonight because of my time, because very briefly, I'll just quickly go through that. Number one is that, and I want to speak to anyone online tonight that might be going through this. Please call make that phone call to 999 or 101. Make it to the police. Tell them. And many people will say, no, I don't want to give him. Yeah, I don't want to give him a conviction. I don't want him to go to prison. Well, that might be the consequences, but unless you tell, you talk, you call, there are other avenues that the government can use to be able to correct and help you. But the first thing you need to do, first and foremost, is to report. Now, and another thing I will advise someone that knows their right is also to give their initial account to the police. What the police tend to do nowadays is that they go around whenever they're speaking to people of that, especially with domestic violence, is to take their account and record it on video. They record that account on video. So when anything like that happens, make sure you quickly call the police. Let me go back to that call. When you call the police, every call that is made on 999 is recorded. And I've had many, thousands, I won't say, please, without exaggeration, thousands. Or you hear many one are so graphic, the woman called as it is happening. And she's crying on the phone. And sometimes you can hear the man screaming at her in the background. And everything is recorded. That is good. So if it happened, call the police and let your account be taken immediately. I will tell you why that is important. And when the police turn up at your address, talk to them. Tell them what had happened. Show them your injuries. Let them take photographs of it. And the reason why is because there will be times after people have reported, they will retract the allegation. They will not want to support prosecution anymore. Why? Because of family pressure, because of maybe they are trying to get back into relationship with them. But if you have called the police on the 999 and given your account, and you have spoken to the police and given your account on that body worn video when they recorded it, that evidence can still be used at court, even if you don't turn up. And I come to what we call res geste. Res geste is in relation to one of the preservation of what we call hearsay evidence. Hearsay evidence is evidence that is not given in court, but is recorded. So this is an exception to that. Instances when the court will allow evidence taken out of court to be given in court as evidence. So for example, the 999 call, the body worn video, they can use it in order to prosecute. And the act, because of my time, one of the key words there that I want you to look at, that's section 1184 and paragraph B of it. It says that a statement made by a person so emotionally overpowered by an event that the possibility of concoction or distortion can be disregarded. In other words, the person, as the thing was happening to her, she was crying, she was weeping, and whatever she said then, the law said will be an absolute truth because she was emotionally overpowered by the event, so she cannot be lying. So that's why when you call the 999, you recorded the account, when the police immediately come to your address, we can still use this accord. But one of the problem we do have is where the defendant said, oh, she assaulted me and I'm just trying to stop her. So they raise what they call self-defense. That instance, this measure does not succeed and he gets away with it. So that's why it's still important for you to turn up at court to give evidence. So, and then there's this section 116 of the Criminal Justice Act, which relates to when someone doesn't want to come to court on the ground of fear. The court can use their statement to read out their statement to try to support the account. I don't even have the time or to begin to tell you series and series of incidents that we've seen in court. Cases whereby the person walk away because the victim, the alleged victim, doesn't want to support. So I'm ringing a note tonight. If you are on this platform and things like this is happening to you, and you have been reporting but not proceeding with it, and the guy is getting away, or the woman is getting away, because I won't lie to you, I have prosecuted women that assaulted their husband. I think it's all macho thing that men many a time don't want to come forward because it cannot be heard that your wife is beating you up. But so is also to flag up that men also can be victims of domestic violence, and which I have seen many times as well. And so finally, as I begin to draw to a close because of time constraint, is restraining order. Restraining order is an order that the court can make when someone has been convicted of any offense. Usually before, it used to be if it's only related to harassment. But now, under Section 12 of the Domestic Violence Crime and Victim Act 2004, which came into force on the 30th of September 2009, the court can impose restraining order on any offense. So what is restraining order? Restraining order is an order that the court will put in place to control the behavior of the person. They will put condition in place for him not to do particular act. It might be for the person not to contact you again indefinitely. The court can make the order until further order, although there are case law now that is saying that the court must give a time limit to it. But it's still open to the court to make an order until further order if they feel the life of that woman or the life of that man or the life of that particular victim is in danger. And so the purpose of restraining order is to control. So it's made on conviction or acquittal for any criminal offense. So even if the person is not convicted, the application for restraining order can still be put in place. The benefit is if the person is convicted, the court can put the order in place, for them not to cause any harassment or not to use any violence. But if the person has been acquitted of the offense, the court can put the order in place for the person, for the alleged the defendant not to not to harass the person. So the order is intended to be preventative and protective. It is not punitive. Yes, that means it's not a punishment, but it's put in place to avoid if there is a risk of such incidents happening again. So that's what I tried to explain earlier on. And so, but before the order is made, before that order is made, the view of the victim will be sought for. They will ask you, do you want the order to be in place? Believe me, I've seen many times the victim will say, no, I don't want the order. But it's ultimately a matter for the court. The court, on his own volition, after the application had been made, can still impose that order if they feel it's necessary to protect the person. So the court can put that order in place. So restraining order is available. Now, there is no molestation order. I won't go into that because I know the Nike is online and she's with civil, so I'm sure she will expatiate on this, but I'll just mention it for one particular reason. It's a civil injunction. It's an injunction that you can obtain in the civil court, whereby the court can put that in place. Where it's connected to crime is the fact that a breach of restraining order or a non-molestation order carries it has a power of arrest. In other words, the police doesn't need warrants to arrest anyone that is in breach of restraining order. They can arrest them there and then it has a maximum sentence of 5 years if there's a breach of it. So that's why it is serious, and that's why it becomes criminal. And finally, victim, what I have there is also victim impact statement. Victim impact statement, the court always like to hear that. So please, anyone that suffer it, right, let the police have your victim impact statement. It means how the is what is your right. Your right is that you have a right to life. It is your God-given right, and you must protect it. And so part of what I believe this event is all about is for you to know what your rights are, and for you to take it on board. That is something you need to protect. You have a right. No one has the right to lay their hands on you, and if they do, you need to stand up to it and say no. And so I end on the note of Tama. Silence is not golden. Please speak up if you are going through this. Thank you.